and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends it, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Full Court Press. Guess who was late again?
Both of us?
Yeah. I came in here like 20 seconds before the show was supposed to start, which isn't enough time for our system to switch over, apparently. So, and then Eric was like a minute and a half behind that. So, a lot's happening.
Yes, sorry.
Did you get another call from the lawyers?
No.
Or our friends down south?
No, I didn't receive any of those.
Don't have an excuse today.
Well,
my excuse was I was sending a tweet, so.
Yeah.
Obviously a very important thing.
Yeah, more transfer portal news today.
Yeah, a lot of things going on today, and a lot of last-second things with the transfer portal. The deadline is closed, but that doesn't mean there aren't people that can't still enter.
Yeah, and you warned us that this could happen, that the portal will close, but there's still a chance that we hear about players in the portal, because in the 11th hour, players will put their names in there, and it just takes a little bit of time to sift through all that new data and recognize who is in there.
Yeah. So before we get into that, we have to use the new intro that was made for us. It was sent into the show by one of our listeners. So our new transfer portal intro, which we may end up editing in the future, but for now, it's perfect as it is.
What's happening, Sheriff?
It's a transfer portal!
Introduce a little anarchy, upset the established order, and everything becomes chaos.
There's too much change. What's next? Games in the metaverse? Robot coaches?
The only sensible way to live in this world is without rules. And here we go.
All right! Good old-fashioned portal fun!
The main thing I need to make sure is that we have the rights to play all this stuff on there. That's the only reason to make it edited.
Good old-fashioned portal fun.
Yeah, basically. So the two big keys with the portal news for Utah State today is, firstly, in chronological order, Josh Uduje, who about 17 days ago had publicly announced that he was intending on staying. It was April 15th, said, I'm going to stay. We're going to ride this out. And, back then it was looking like he was probably going to come back and be a starter. Be one of the key contributors. Get a lot of minutes. Probably get back closer to his career high in scoring that he had his last year at Coastal Carolina. But then Ian Martinez comes back. Jared Calhoun adds a couple of more guards. Uduje was still definitely in line to get a lot of minutes and probably be the sixth man. But it seems maybe he wasn't entirely comfortable in that role. And he has decided to move on. He'll have a decent number of suitors, and I think he'll find a good landing spot, but it's obviously a big loss for the Aggies, particularly in their depth, where they were looking really deep at that guard position, and Uduje was one of a few guys that you would feel comfortable playing on the wing, like that small forward position. So not only did the Aggies lose one of their, better perimeter guys, they're losing one of their few wings and one of their, really experienced players.
Yeah, that's a tough blow as the portal comes to a close, to lose just another experienced player, a good leader on the floor. Seemed to be a good leader in the locker room, good character guy, and how his role was going to be with Coach Calhoun, I don't know. Would he have been a starter? Probably not. as long as Martinez and Falslev are still on the floor, or on the roster, I should say, it's probably not real likely that Uduje is a starter. But he would probably likely play close to starter minutes, or at least significant minutes on the court. He'd be a significant impact player. But I don't know, maybe that's just weighing all of his options at the very end, considered maybe that's just not the best. Maybe going to go be a starter somewhere and not come off the bench anymore.
And that's certainly the thought, but he, like you said, he was going to get a lot of minutes. I mean, he averaged 24 minutes per game last year, which it's not like, the 30 minutes he was getting at Coastal Carolina, but 6 minutes per game being a starter, like, I guess it just depends on what's the difference for him. And I guess for him, that is a big difference. And it kind of is.
Well, he's 6'5". I mean, he's a wing player that he could play alongside Martinez and Falslev.
Yeah, he definitely was going to, because he would come in likely for one of Martinez or Falslev. Probably Falslev is you'd probably send him to the bench first as one of the less experienced guys. Albury and Martinez and Uduje, that'd kind of be, first man off the bench type lineup, and then you start rolling in guys like Drake Allen and whatnot, and any other guys that potentially come in. So that was kind of where he would be. First man off the bench, come in for one of the guards that are in front of him on the depth chart, and still play 25-ish minutes per game. If he's got the hot hand, then he'd close the game as well. There's entirely chance a decent chance that he'd be able to close the game out if he's having a solid night. But there is a difference there where it's sometimes you close out a game and playing 25 minutes, to him there's a difference between that and playing 30 to 35 minutes and pretty much always closing out a game. And so there is a difference, and it just depends on who you are and what you're willing to do. And for him, he's got one more year of eligibility, and he wants to go back to being that guy who's on the floor when the game's on the line, playing the big minutes.
I don't see in what has transpired over these last few weeks with Coach Calhoun. I don't, and the players that he's recruiting in, I don't see that Josh Uduje has been recruited over. I don't see any of these new guards that have been recruited to come here or committed to come here, any of them having more experience or more ability than Josh Uduje would bring to the Aggies. So sometimes you'll see a player gets recruited over and it makes sense. I can see this guy, he's going to play more than I am, and it's going to be tough for me to see the court. I don't really see that with Josh Uduje. That's why this is surprising to me. That really, I think this comes down to here's a guy who probably just wants to be a starter, thinks he can be a starter, and with Martinez and Falslev, it'll be tough for him to be a starter. I think there is a world that exists that he still could be able to play alongside them as a player on the wing, but he's not necessarily gone. He has put his name in the portal. But we've seen for Utah State basketball that doesn't necessarily mean he's totally gone.
Yeah, he's already recommitted once. Maybe they'll be able to convince him, but this late making that decision now, and things have changed since he did that recommit. The biggest thing, though, I think, was Ian Martinez recommitting, because that's where you feel like that basically establishes the starting guard line of Albury, Falslev, and Martinez. I have a really hard time seeing any other starting lineup than that. And so Uduje kind of was recruited over in the sense that they re-recruited Ian Martinez. And maybe depending on how Jared Calhoun wants to use Tucker Anderson. Because my initial thoughts were pretty hard line, he's going to be the power forward. Though as I'm getting deeper and deeper into my film study and breakdown and whatnot, which that written version will come out sometime this weekend. I'm now behind on my newcomer breakdowns by 2 or 3 players. I did get the Drake Allen one out the other day, so you can go read up on Drake Allen. So I'll have to get through all these, get to all the women's basketball ones as well So a lot of stuff coming. But tangent aside and shameless plug for my written work aside, I'm a little more convinced that Tucker Anderson can be an actual, like, mostly full-time small forward, and that maybe that's better. Although part of that is contingent on Calhoun bringing in someone else who can play power forward. Because as the roster stands right now, who else is going to play power forward? Isaac Johnson? That's not an ideal situation either, at least for a lot of minutes. Isaac Johnson can play small forward. Tucker Anderson can play, Isaac Johnson can play power forward. Anderson can play power forward as well. Neither are maybe ideal for long-term minutes. So that's another way where Uduje may have lost some of his minutes to another guy. But even then, he was still in line for a significant role. But it's different than the role he wants, and that's what matters.
Yeah, it's frustrating to see an experienced player who said he was going to stick around change his mind. He hasn't. I mean, this just happened today, or was reported today. I haven't seen anything where he has declared a destination, and I don't know if it's just one of those where, hey, last minute, just throw my name in there just to see what else is out there. But if you do that, that indicates that your heart's maybe not in it as much as you thought it was. But that's really unfortunate. I mean, Josh Uduje would have a significant role to play still on this team. Yeah, there's a lot of guards that have been recruited in to come and play at Utah State, but he's as talented or more talented than any of them, and certainly he's got the experience and would be a huge asset for the team moving forward. So to not have him, that's frustrating. It takes it down a notch.
Yeah. 2444, we may have already answered this before even reading this tech. But 2444, got to slow down. Saying, tough break, losing Uduje right at the transfer portal deadline. And this is the part we kind of already answered, where he says, any ideas as to why he changed his mind after recently announcing that he was returning? And yeah, it probably just seems to be that when he announced he was returning, he was maybe expecting Ian Martinez to leave and was expecting to get a starting role. And now he's not really in line for a starting role. So, and if things went poorly, like if Tucker Anderson turns out, if he ends up playing small forward, it could even almost mean a slight role reduction. And I don't think Uduje wants to risk that, again, in his final year of eligibility. So he's trying to take matters into his own hands, where he can find a place that's going to feature him more, and he has every right to do that. And to be honest, if I was in his corner, I probably would have suggested the same thing. It's not good for the Aggies, but Josh Uduje's got to look out for him.
Yeah, and there's still that slim outside shot that he decides to stick around and stay here. But there's still a lot of teams out there looking for experienced players to fill roster spots. So he will be sought after. So it'll be a job for Coach Calhoun to try to keep him here.
9315 texting in saying, what's the reason/benefits you wait until the very last minute to enter into the transfer portal? Well, the main benefit is you have more of an idea of what's going on around you and what's going on in the rest of the portal, and the rest of the NCAA. And there's also, some of these guys, their situations change, and so they change their minds about things happening. Like Josh Uduje clearly changed his mind. He fully intended to stay, and then something changed his mind. It could be the potential role change at Utah State, where he's sixth man. He was hoping to be a starter, then relegated back to being a sixth man, most likely, maybe even seventh, depending on how things panned out with some of these incoming recruits. And he decided he didn't want to do that. Or it's entirely possible that we go back to tampering. That's usually our default response to anybody that's good on Utah State who transfers. Oh, they were tampered with. Right. Not to say that's wrong, but a lot of times that's kind of our default response, and that's entirely possible. But there are multiple different reasons he could have left. And waiting this long, there is the risk of entering the portal this late because a lot of teams are already starting to finalize their roster. But if you're someone as good as Uduje, people will suddenly turn and say, oh, you're in the portal now. Let me talk to you. Now, it's like with Osborne. Even though he's taking a while, nobody's going to slam the door in his face and say, we don't want you. We've already filled our roster.
Right. You have an opportunity to pick up a player like that. You find a way to make it happen.
Yeah. If you're an end of bench guy and you wait till the portal entry is just about closed, that's a big risk because there's a lot of spots that have been filled, and that's a lot fewer spots for you to sneak into. So for Uduje, there's maybe some risk, but he's good enough that it's not really that big of a risk. There's still plenty of teams out there looking for players, plenty of teams that could use his services. And when you know more of what the landscape is like, so like a bunch of those teams have filled in most of their roster, well, you know what most of the rest of the team looks like. So you can say, yeah, that looks like a good landing spot instead of jumping onto a team that has 3 players on their roster. I mean, you look at how do you say it? The former Boise State wing, Ogbo. What was his first name again?
I
keep deliberately not saying it because I can't pronounce it. It starts with a CH.
Yeah,
and I think CHI.
Chigbizo.
Something to that effect. I'm trying to be respectful to him by not saying brutalizing his first name, but it also feels disrespectful to just keep calling him Ogbo. But he transferred to USC, looked like he was going to maybe have a spot. And they've brought in like 3 or 4 more recruits at his same position that may end up playing over him. So transferring late, you can maybe get a better idea of what you're jumping into, as opposed to being an early commit and then suddenly getting recruited over after you've committed to a new school. You have to be like, here we go again.
Right.
It can be a bad situation. That kind of happened to Nigel Burris here at Utah State. He was like the first commit, if I remember correctly, transfer commit. And then he pretty much got recruited over.
Yeah, right. And very, very, very limited opportunities while he was here last year. But the door was open for him to play a larger role coming into this next season because he fit a need that this team has. Like somebody who's that 6'5" to 6'8" wing player who can shoot the 3. Boom. He fit that perfectly. 6'7", he's the 3-point specialist. But now he's going to Weber State.
Yeah.
He's going to spend time down there, going back to the Big Sky. Now, I think there were some concerns about his commitment to defense. Burris.
Yeah, there was he struggled to fit in the Danny Sprinkle system, I think, and that's where I was hoping he could make it work here under Jared Calhoun, especially with a more offensive-oriented system, but I think jumping down to the Big Sky may be what Burris ends up needing.
Yeah.
9-5 with another text here saying, not too many years ago, if you didn't get the starting job in college sports, you ended up with a chip on your shoulder and worked your tail off and forced the coach's hand, so they had to start you because of your body of work. Now it seems like they just move to a school that has a player that can't compete with you, and they transfer out and then take their starting job. This ring around the roses thing is nonstop. Yeah,
Yep.
well, I think along with that, like there were some players who did do that, where like they, put their nose to the grindstone. Maybe they didn't play a whole lot as like a freshman, sophomore, a little bit as a junior, and they like have kind of their 1 year of glory as a senior. I mean, you see that a lot in high school, and that would happen a decent amount at the college levels. Or maybe you get a junior-senior year, 2 seasons, junior and senior. But there also were a lot of people who would go 4 years and not see the field,
Right.
or court. So it's like, I do get there are a lot of people who would do that, but there are a lot who would never see the court or the field or the turf, whatever sport we're playing here, because coaches never would acknowledge the work that they put in. Other than, you're a great scout team player.
Right, yeah. Well, if we're going to go good old days, I mean, there was a time when freshmen couldn't even play.
That's true.
They were not allowed to play. It was an NCAA rule. You couldn't play.
So I think to a degree, like I know we like to romanticize the idea of this, put your nose to the grindstone and work through this. And I do wish a few more players would do that, because it feels like there are some players who are on the fringe where, okay, if you do actually put the work in, you will see that jump and you will see that opportunity. But then they kind of take the easier way out and kind of do what 9-5 says. But there are a lot of people who, okay, if they just stick around, they aren't going to see the court because the coaches just keep recruiting over them, and sometimes you get a new coach, and that's just not the right situation for you anymore.
Let me put in the work while I also get to play.
Yeah, or put in the work where I know it'll be appreciated by maybe a guy who actually recruited me and wanted me here.
Yeah.
So, there's a bunch of examples of that. So, a guy like Josh Uduje, maybe you'd hope that he'd put in the work and try and earn a starting job, but there's not a whole lot of guarantee of that. So, as much as you love players to stick around and tough it out, like I said, these players got to look out for themselves, and they're trying to live their dreams. Sometimes you need a new place for that. So, it's tough nuggets for the Aggies.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's too bad, but it opens up another roster spot.
Yeah. But to be positive, I know we've been criticized for bemoaning the transfer portal, and I think this sentiment has been talked about for the Aggies, at least for basketball, is that they've mostly come out on top here with the portal and with their losses. They've lost some key guys, Osabor, now Uduje, but they've kept some key guys, and they've brought in some good players. So I think the Aggies have, as far as maybe what people were expecting or fearing, they've done better than that, and I think the team's going to be fine. Although, speaking of potentially not fine, we're going to talk about Utah State football, where they're struggling a little bit. They're in the down section of this roller coaster, where it's...
Yeah, we have not seen the upswing yet.
Yeah. They need this moment of, here's all the good recruits we're getting in. Kind of like we had last December. We had that upswing. There wasn't as much of a down because not everybody transferred yet. But, yeah, things are a little down right now. We'll talk about that next, as there's another player who's entered the portal for Utah State football, and it's another big one. Coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
If I offered you up to 50% off a new appliance, you'd take it, wouldn't you? This is Jay with Daryl's Appliance. That's exactly what you get with scratch and dent appliances at Daryl's. These appliances have minor bumps or bruises, but are technician tested and come with a full 2-year warranty. A Daryl's Appliance exclusive. Stop in today to check our scratch and dent inventory. Experience the Daryl's difference. Daryl's Appliance, west on Airport Road.
See Daryl's Appliance in beautiful downtown Benson.
Do you have a backup generator, or have you explored the options of adding one to your home? Generac backup generators will keep your home or business safe and cool during the summer months if the power goes out. Do you already have a system? Golden Spike Electric can service it for you. If you don't have one, Golden Spike Electric can find the right model for your needs. Find them online at gsegenerators.com or call 435-257-3016. Golden Spike Electric and Generac, power you can count on.
Experiencing asthma, allergies, or hearing problems? Turn to Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat, located in Providence and the Three Peaks Medical Plaza in North Logan. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat have decades of ear, nose, and throat experience for children and adults. Doctors Benyon, Blotter, and Robinette provide cutting-edge techniques, ensuring you the highest quality of service and results. Go to CacheValleyENT.com. That's CacheValleyENT.com for appointments and details. Most insurance products, including SelectMed, are accepted. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat, helping you live the life you deserve.
Security. It's the most precious thing you can give your home, especially if it's guaranteed. No cheap locks, no weak keys, no inadequate hardware, just the expertise and precision and security. Beezer Lock & Key believes there's no place like a safe home, and no home safer than one secured by them. It may seem they only sell locks and keys, but what they really sell is peace of mind. Search Beezer Lock & Key or go to 4th North and 1st West and just add confidence.
It's graduation week, the fourth and final week of Blue and White Days at Locker 42. Celebrate with sale prices on Aggie alumni apparel, Aggie tumblers and bottles, license plate frames, coolers, diploma frames, bandanas, car flags, and more, all with USU Aggie logos. Check Locker 42's Instagram for daily flash sale items and weekly prize drawings. The final week of Blue and White Days at Locker 42, 14th North next to Little Caesars, and the flagship store downtown at 36 South Main, Logan.
Here's Chad Norton, the lawn doctor, with a tip for your lawn.
Warmer temperatures have both weeds and grass competing for space in your yard. Dandelions, thistle, clover, morning glory will all be kept under better control when you have us applying pre-emergence and weed control. At the same time, we can feed your grass to make sure it wins the battle and keep it lush and growing all season long. Regular visits from the lawn doctor will help your lawn be healthier and pest-free.
Fertilizer, weed, and pest control. Call Chad Norton, the lawn doctor, at 753-LAWN. Follow them on Facebook or go to lawndoctorcashvalley.com.
Interviews, analysis, and a little bit of fun mixed in. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
435-339-0321. That's the number to join the Full Court Press via the Full Court Press text line. Here with Jason Walker, Eric Frandsen, discussing the latest in the transfer portal, because that's all this show is during the spring.
Lately.
Pretty much. And it feels like every day I've been like planning the show out and being like, man, I don't know if there's a ton to talk about. Like there's NBA playoffs, there's a little bit of this, a little bit of high school spring sports, and then like an hour before the show, a bunch of people enter the transfer portal. Like it happened yesterday, happened today.
Just when you think it's safe.
Yeah, just
to go back into the water.
Especially, yeah, because the portal's closing. Like these announcements are coming out, and people are like, "Didn't the portal close?"
Yeah, it's like
oh, yes, but
we
still,
can have a sigh of relief. No more.
Careful what you wish for. There's
Bam!
There's a lot of people who made that last second, got a decision to say, "Yo, I'm just getting to the portal," and that's that. Two guys. We mentioned Josh Uduje, first of those two that enter the portal today for the Aggies. That's in men's basketball. On the football side, the portal technically closed like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
The basketball one closed yesterday at 10 p.m. our time. But on the football side, the Aggies lost somebody who, well, technically never played for them because they only spent spring ball with the Aggies. And that was linebacker Shaun Dolac. Or Dolac, I'm not 100% sure how to say it because I never got a chance to learn, Eric. Never got a chance to learn about this guy. Saw him play like 4 times.
Looked good in the spring.
Yeah, this is a guy who was expected to be the starting linebacker, kind of the heir to MJ Tafisi. He was injured last year, played for Buffalo, so he didn't really do a whole lot last year. He missed most of the season with an injury. But the year before, he was like an all-conference, like an all-MAC. He had 147 tackles, 13.5 tackles for loss. Like this is, that prototypical tackling machine inside linebacker archetype.
Right, good replacement for MJ Tafisi.
Yeah, exactly, because Tafisi was that. He was a tackling machine.
Yep.
And that's what you were wanting. He was a guy that had experience in a linebacker room that was pretty void of experience. But Eric, after the loss of Dolac, but not only him, but Anthony Switzer, who was another guy that I wasn't sure if he was going to stay at linebacker because Switzer was at linebacker late last year, but then maybe he would move back to either a hybrid position or safety. But I think he was probably going to stay at linebacker. But you lose those two guys, and who's left at linebacker, Eric?
What's that? What's that I hear? Oh, I hear crickets.
Let me give you
very thin.
Let me give you the full list. I have the full list of linebackers. I forgot to give you our topic sheet for that. I just realized.
I have it. I've got it on my phone. I'm good.
Well, I have a sheet of paper, but I just really didn't want to hand it to you without saying it. Then you'd be like,
good.
I'm not handing you the list of players. I have it written down on my notes. So here's the list of linebackers ranked in order of career snaps they have played at the linebacker position. So you start off with Cole.
In Division I?
And in Division I.
Yeah.
Well, none of these guys have played Division II, so I don't have to worry about that.
But so that doesn't include like junior college transfers or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't. I guess I have. Well, no, these are all the guys that are listed on the roster as of today, like as of spring ball. So I don't even know if they had many junior college linebackers coming in. Can't think of any.
I'll look that up while you do your thing.
I have to check my own recruiting articles. But maybe there's some coming in during the summer. But as of spring ball, this is basically their entire group of linebackers on the roster. Again, ranked by how many career snaps they have at the linebacker position at the Division I level. So start off with Cole Joyce. He's a junior. 238 career snaps, most of those last year in a reserve role. Then you have Logan Peely, another sophomore, 213 snaps. Again, most of those last year. And again, in a reserve role. Max Alford, similar thing. He's a sophomore. Granted, most of his snaps, 205, came 2 years ago. He only played one snap last year, and he got injured on that one snap. And when he had this, 204 snaps a couple years ago, again, a lot of that was in a reserve role, and a lot of it was late in the year when he was just starting to play that position. Then you have Bronson Oliveo. I'm not sure how to say his last name.
Yeah, and he looked good in the spring.
Yeah.
But again, that's spring.
Yeah, spring. He's got 55 career snaps at linebacker. And then you have two players on the roster that have 0 career snaps at linebacker. The freshman Nathan Wright and Jaden Pearson, who's a graduate transfer from Utah. He's a converted safety. He played safety at Utah. Didn't play a whole lot of safety. So this is a guy who has 22 career snaps on defense. And he's moving from safety to linebacker.
And see, Will Schaefer announced that he was transferring.
Yeah, he's in the portal.
During spring practice.
Yep.
And then, let's see, junior college transfers. Doesn't look like there were any linebackers in that group. And then you got a high school recruit, Tanner Williams, from Mater Dei.
Yeah, the thing is, the guys they
California.
added at linebacker was Schaefer out of, was he Arizona State or was he somewhere else?
Schaefer was from Arizona State.
Okay. Wasn't sure if I was confusing him with somebody else. But I had him, who he was a guy, first initial comparison was to a guy like MJ Tafisi. Didn't play at a Power 5 level, but you love the talent, could come in. MJ Tafisi barely had any snaps where he came to Utah State and was a tackling machine for 2 years. Will Schaefer maybe could have been the same, but we'll never know. Dolac had obviously proven he could do that at Buffalo. It's those were the two guys they brought in at linebacker via the transfer portal. Didn't grab a bunch of junior college linebackers. They grabbed guys like this, Division I transfers. And now they're all gone. And the thing is, I actually like some of these guys. Max Alford is someone that I'm really hoping steps up. I was excited for him last year. He's starting as a sophomore. Or maybe redshirt freshman, I can't remember. But then he just got injured and I never got to see anything. You never know. He's probably the one guy he is the one guy on the roster that has the size, I think, to be a really good linebacker. Because he's 6'1", 250 pounds. Big, bulky linebacker. Everyone else is 210, 215 pounds at linebacker. That's a safety. You're just a safety at that point.
Right.
It's these guys need more time to develop and build that way. I don't want to make fun of them and say, oh, you're a lightweight, because you got to develop.
Yeah, well, there's certain roles that you can play with that weight class.
Yeah, but a lot of guys will come in at that weight and they build that up because that's what you do. There's no high school kids that come out here weighing 250 pounds at linebacker. So you need to develop. It's there are guys who need to develop and get bigger. Max Alford has that. I mean, he's been in the program for 3 or 4 years already.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that redshirting and injuring, so that's part of how he has that size now. So I like some of these guys. You mentioned Bronson playing well in spring. There's some decent potential out of Logan Peely. Of course, he's actually 230 pounds, I think. So he's fairly close to having decent size there. But you like some or all of these guys individually, but to have a good linebacker room, you'd basically need all of them to make the jump from I've barely played and I've been a reserve or kind of fringe reserve player my entire career, only 2 years for some of these guys. They need to make the jump from that to starting caliber linebacker, multiple of them. You can expect 1 or 2 guys to make that kind of jump. Probably just one guy to make that jump and be effective. in making that jump from reserve to being a starting caliber or high starting caliber linebacker, but you'd need like all of these guys to do something similar to that, to have an effective linebacker. And that's what you're worried about. Or maybe 2 or 3 of them do, but one of them gets injured. We already had that with Max Alford. That kind of partially doomed the linebacker core last year, as Alford, who was going to be a big contributor, got injured. And suddenly, frantically at the end of the season, you're plugging in Anthony Switzer and a bunch of other guys who maybe you weren't expecting to throw in that quickly. And Logan Peely was another guy. Weren't expecting him to play right away, and he had to play a lot of snaps toward the end of the year. So I think while I like some of the guys at the top of the linebacker depth chart, even still, depth is a massive concern along with having a high-level linebacker. There's decent linebackers, but is there a high-level one? I don't know. I'm optimistic about Max Alford. I don't know if I'm that optimistic.
Well, it also makes you, besides trying to go find players to fit positions, fill openings, this coaching staff may have to be to the point where they look at who they have. Like, can we convert this guy from this position to this position?
Ike Larson, linebacker, baby.
Well, Ike may be a little bit short, but Simeon Harris maybe could do that.
Yeah, that's possible. They have a few more safeties.
That's right. They have a lot more depth in the safety and cornerback room than they obviously do in the linebacker room. And do you start to look at, granted, this is also highly dependent on Coach Dreiling's defensive strategy, but they have gotten bigger and they have gotten more guys in the defensive front, defensive ends, defensive tackles. They've definitely filled a lot of roster spots through recruiting there, but there's a hole in the middle with that linebacker core.
And that's kind of the thing you worry about, because linebackers can be really helped out by having a great defensive line in front of them, and they can kind of be made to look good. But having a really good linebacker is the difference between allowing a 2-yard gain and getting that 1-yard tackle for loss. Like, if you have a really good defensive line, that's kind of where the difference is. Because it's not just, the defensive line sets things up and then the linebacker tackles them. Well, how good is that linebacker at their instincts in hitting the hole really hard and getting that tackle and not giving up a yard or two after contact? So I like the fact that maybe they can set up some of these linebackers for some success, but you're lacking the experience to get really good production, really good impact out of the linebackers.
Yeah. Does Coach Dreiling prefer, and his defensive coaching staff, do they prefer size and strength, or do they prefer speed? Not necessarily, those are mutually exclusive, but
a lot of times
you tend to have to choose one or the other.
At this level, you pretty much have to go one or the other.
Well, because there's a possibility that you could take one of those defensive tackles or defensive end, more likely defensive end, and say, look, we need you to shed some weight, and we're going to put you as a linebacker. Or the alternative is we're going to take one of our safeties, because we have a lot of them, and move them up and try to put on a little bit more weight.
And so that just worries me, because, what was the one thing that Utah State absolutely could not do to save their lives last year?
Stop the run.
Yeah, and that requires a bit of size, a bit of strength. Granted, there's some speed involved, but just get out there and tackle a guy. Bring him down, because, missed tackles has been an issue, and sometimes that's a size thing, where if you bounce off the running back, get a bit more weight. Have him, bounce to the ground after you hit him. So there's some pretty significant worries at linebacker. It's not any time to hit the panic button, because you have guys that can step in and play big minutes, but there's some depth that they've got to bring in via recruiting. So I think still I would say overall, don't hit the panic button for Utah State football, but some pretty nasty portal entries.
My hand is on the button. I haven't hit it, but my hand is on the button.
It's like one more, gosh dang it, and I will hit this button.
Or starting to depress on the button.
We'll hit this button and throw a chair or something.
It's getting very frustrating.
Yeah. Anyway, we got to take another break. We'll keep it going here. Coming up next on the Full Court Press.
Hello, I'm Becky Funk. Branch Operations Manager at Cache Valley Bank. I've spent 13 years in banking, and I'm ready to use my experience to help you with your accounts and financial goals. I have a great team of tellers and bankers who provide you with the personalized attention you deserve. Come visit me at our main branch or give me a call. Let me help you open an account and show you what makes us so great. We look forward to meeting you. Cache Valley Bank member, FDIC.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. My wife and I were laughing the other day because she read an article about things not to buy online. The first thing was prom dresses. Dresses advertised versus dresses delivered. Needless to say, what people thought they were getting is not what they got. It's much the same with mattresses. Almost always, buying a mattress online ends in buyers being let down. At My Mattress, we try to always exceed expectations. Lower prices than online and better beds. Only at My Mattress.
S.E. Needham Jewelers is where Utah gets engaged. We offer a large selection of personalized service and extraordinary benefits with our integrity price guarantee. At Match Quality, you'll find our prices to be as low or lower than any store in the state. We consistently beat any 50 to 70% off sales, internet pricing, or so-called wholesale deals. In fact, we even price our diamonds at internet pricing, so you'll get S.E. Needham quality at internet prices. Open Monday through Saturday 10 to 7, where Utah gets engaged. S.E. Needham Jewelers. Middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
Prodigy Brewing always delivers a delicious experience of flavor and fun into your world. Enjoy Cache Valley's juiciest burgers, tastiest nachos, flavor-filled wood-fired pizzas, and award-winning specialty craft brews. Whether it's a quick lunch, dinner with the family, brews with friends, or Trivia Tuesdays, let Prodigy Brewing introduce you to deliciousness. Book now for upcoming graduation parties. Prodigy Brewing, exceptional food, extraordinary service, and family-friendly on Center Street in downtown Logan.
Right now, there are local job openings for journeyman electricians starting at over $41 per hour. Then get full family health coverage and retirement benefits on top of that, plus 7 paid holidays and a $2,000 sign-on bonus. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is hosting an open house Thursday, May 9th to hire journeyman electricians. If you're interested in a high-paying career, even if you have no experience and are ready to start as an apprentice, attend the open house Thursday, May 9th, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Hampton Inn, 207 North Main, Logan. Come meet the union and the contractors ready to put you to work.
This is The Odd Couple with Chris Broussard and Rob Parker.
LeBron's run with the Lakers, I would call spotty, with the injuries, with some years not making the playoffs. No, I said that. I said spotty. I didn't say a total bust. But they did get the bubble championship. But there have been other bumps in the road. You mean a championship? I just said it was in the bubble.
With Chris Broussard and Rob Parker.
Weeknights from 6 to 8 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan. It's the Full Court Press, weekday afternoons from 4 to 6 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. The portal has closed, but the madness remains.
Yes.
As the last few reports of transfer portal entries trickle in, because while the portal has closed, they've got teams have 48 hours to put them in, and as people get the reports, all these a lot of these guys who their entire job is to report is to have the sources to know who's entering the transfer portal. As they find out, they then report it. So it's going to be a day or two while we're still hearing about portal entries, although after a few days it will finally, blessedly, stop.
Yes, come to a conclusion, at least with players listing their names in the portal. And 8577, we probably missed it, but why the crap would Josh Uduje want to transfer? Yeah, we led the show with that, and I don't know. I mean, here's a guy who on April 15th said he was sticking around. But we've seen the harsh reality of that with football, that doesn't always mean everything when you make those kind of declarations. I can only guess as to why he waited to the final hours to put his name in there. My hunch, and that's all it is that here's a guy who wants to be a starter somewhere. And maybe he's still committed to stick around. I can't say committed, but maybe he's still interested in sticking around, but is just curious about other opportunities that may be out there. But with Ian Martinez and Mason Falslev definitively here, his opportunity to be a starter is...
Don't say they're definitively here, because then in the next 30 minutes, we're going to see Ian Martinez entering the portal again.
We're not definitive until next week. But with it looking like Martinez and Falslev still here, Uduje's opportunities to be a starter are lessened. He can still play a very significant role. I think there is a world where he could be a starter along those other guys. You'd have a lot of experience on your starting guard line and on the wings, but I don't know. I don't know why he would have waited this long to finally put his name in the portal, because I don't see any other player that has been recruited to come in on Calhoun from Calhoun's staff that would be recruited over Uduje.
Yeah,
I think this really is just has to be about, I want to be a starter. I'm not sure I'll be a starter in this system.
Yeah, and he probably wasn't going to be, barring injury, to guys in front of him. Because, I don't think Drake Allen or Braden Housley were really going to eat into any of Uduje's minutes. I know both of those guys kind of can play that small forward position, mostly due to the fact that they're 6'4" guards, kind of combo guards, and that 3 spot is often played by combo guards in college basketball, even though both those guys are kind of point guards. But it's still Uduje would have been in line for a decent amount of playing time. But as we've gone over and over again, being a starter is obviously very desirable to these players. And so my guess is that's very much the motivation here. I think 9-3-1-5, I don't think we read this, but on the topic of the portal, says, with the portal, I feel like you guys need to extend the show 30 minutes when portal season is on just to fit all the show content.
Well, we try to fill it in within the normal parameters of time, and I think we do that, and then we have other topics we need to get to as well. But on show length, just a reminder, on Monday it's changing.
Yeah, we've extended. We think we were thinking of maybe having it go down to 1 hour this week, but then we figured, one, with portal madness still happening, and it was just kind of easier to do it on Monday. So
yeah,
we are not extending the show. We are shortening it temporarily.
But we will say this: if there are things that do occur that maybe warrant extended conversations, we can always do a special edition podcast that we'll throw on our podcast feed. That if we feel like we need more time to get into a given topic, that's where you can find it.
Yeah. So with the portal slowing down, it's kind of like when the portal closes. It's like a train when you hit the brakes, where it's like train doesn't stop immediately.
Right. There's a lot of momentum behind that.
But it is slowing down, and it will come to a stop. As Nitsa will tell you, a mile down the road. So that's kind of where we are right now. Is the brake has been applied to the transfer portal train. But let's wait a second until it comes to a complete stop. Please keep your arms
and legs inside
the vehicle at all times until the portal is definitely come to a stop. Then you can be happy about getting off the roller coaster.
We've seen some players starting to commit to their new homes. As we've seen with basketball for Utah State, Calhoun's going out and finding his roster. He still has some spots to fill. But in the Mountain West, there's news around the Mountain West as some of these teams are starting to fill their roster spots. And kind of a significant get in the Mountain West that was made today. Boise State getting a transfer out of Arizona, big 7-footer, sophomore Dylan Anderson.
Yeah, former 4-star recruits. Obviously a potentially those former top 100 and 4-star recruits. Those are guys that I know a lot of mid-majors like to be able to pick up, and so Boise State with a couple of big recruits over the last couple of days. They got a former NAIA, I can never say that, NAIA All-American combo guard, scoring type, 20 points per game type down at the NAIA level. So Boise State's starting to come out a bit strong in the transfer portal. They're starting to make their waves as they took some hits in the transfer portal and with some attrition, losing Max Rice and then Roddy Anderson, Ogbo going into the portal. Lost a decent amount, but maybe we'll see if they make a comeback. San Diego State also making a a recruit today where they get somebody. We do need to hit a break, though, so we'll touch on that as we close out the first hour here on the Full Court Press. Coming up next.
When you think about Mom, what you see is dependable, always there when you need her, understanding, caring, and definitely forgiving. She takes care of the kids, cooks, cleans, grocery shops, clipping the coupons to stretch your dollars further. She is an accountant, chauffeur, a tutor, a counselor, and sometimes a referee. She is a hands-on, micromanaging CEO of the house, who in some cases also has a second job. This Mother's Day, get her something special at Jarek's Fine Jewelry in Logan. Make it special, make it Jarek's.
Are you seeking the best in healthcare services in Northern Utah? Look no further. Agis Healthcare has been voted the best of Northern Utah. I am Jason Jones. We take pride in providing top quality home care and hospice services to the residents of Northern Utah. Experience the difference with Agis. Our dedicated team is here to provide compassionate home care and hospice services tailored just for you. Call us today at 723-9000 or visit our website at myagis.com. Agis Home Health and Hospice, your trusted partner right here in your community.
Advanced Fireplace and Stove wants to thank you for voting them 3 years running the gold medal winners in the Best of Northern Utah contest. With over 35 display models in their showroom, their goal is to make the process of making your home comfortable and cozy an easy experience. With premier brands like Heat and Glow, Quadrifire, and Vermont Castings, they have something for every style, every home, every budget. Building or renovating, they've got you covered. Advanced Fireplace and Stove, where comfort is their business.
At Adams Wealth Advisors, they believe that successful wealth management is all about planning. And whether you've done a lot of planning or a little, Adams Wealth Advisors is here to help. If you're transitioning a business, searching for the most up-to-date tax strategies, need help managing investments, or need help with estate planning, Adams Wealth Advisors has your back. Visit adamswealthadvisors.com. That's adamswealthadvisors.com for more information or to schedule an appointment.
This is Nate Lamson with Valley Office Systems, your home team when local matters. Valley Office Systems is your local provider for all things office, copiers, printers, furniture, and document management. Proudly serving Cache Valley since 2007. Visit valleyofficesystems.com.
For our military families, Americans can show appreciation through education.
Because of you, I will walk across the stage. I can show my children that they can succeed at any point in their life.
I will be able to make a positive difference in the lives of other people.
I was able to achieve my dreams to work on eradicate some of the world's top diseases.
I was able to get the education that I always wanted.
Because of you, I will be paying it forward and serving my nation.
Join us at ThanksUSA.org.
Breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
It's springtime, and that means you got to get your lawnmower, four-wheeler, side-by-side, motorcycle, all that fired up. If you need help getting them fired up, see your locally owned Napa Auto Parts for spark plugs, air filters, oil, batteries, car wash supplies, more. Got all the best names in the business, NGK, Napa Gold Filters, Schaefer's, Mobile One. They get you in and out fast. You can get the yard work done or out on the trail fast. Get the work done, then work hard, play hard, all that. All that in stock now at your 5 locally owned Napa Auto Parts from Preston to Providence. A few more texts to get through really quick. 5452. I actually did see this. Brian Phillips on Twitter saying that the main reason behind Shaun Dolac transferring, he says he's going back to Buffalo, is apparently he wants to be close to family. So seems fairly reasonable.
Yeah. It's understandable.
Must have kind of maybe came out here and then kind of regretted it perhaps right afterward, which that happens. I mean, Isaac Johnson had that happen to him in basketball.
Right.
You go somewhere and it's like, oh, crap, I regret this immediately.
Yep. This place is not for me.
Yeah. 5338 says, how come the Aggies aren't reeling in any P4 portal players? I think part of that is just Jared Calhoun's probably his recruiting emphasis just isn't in that same, go after the Ian Martinez's or the Max Agwin-Polos, those former Power 4 guys who are transferring down. He seems to be intent on finding a bunch of mid-major guys, a lot of one-and-done mid-major guys, and some guys transferring up. Guys like Drake Allen, Brandon Housley. They're different recruiting styles. Some work, some don't. Like, it usually just depends.
You're right. P4 does not guarantee you're getting a quality player either.
Yeah.
By the way, San Diego State looks like they're getting Wayne McKinney III, player from the University of San Diego. And then Colorado State is getting Jalen Crocker Johnson, Ohio Valley Freshman of the Year.
Yeah, the Aggies have seen Wayne McKinney a couple times because they played San Diego. That's going to do it for us here in the first hour. We're going to talk NBA coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. We all know basketball is a team sport, but at the end of the day, it's a game driven by stars. That made the LA Clippers edition of Kawhi Leonard a no-brainer. But after 5 years in LA, the Clippers have nothing to show for their string of blockbuster moves. And fair or not, a lot of that falls on the shoulders of Leonard. The two-time Finals MVP is commanding $45 million this season. And when he plays, he's great. But that's the issue. Leonard has missed 181 regular season games since joining the Clippers. And that doesn't even include the games that he's missed in the postseason. One of those games last night. And without him, the Clippers fell to the Mavs by 30. You can't deny the talent and versatility of Kawhi. He's a Hall of Famer. But unless the All-Star can stay healthy, it's going to be really difficult for the Clippers to overcome the injury issues when that team has so many assets attached to an unreliable star. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.